The Vermont Council on Rural Development is in the middle of a community visit to Londonderry. One Londonderry, as the project is known, is attempting to identify opportunities and challenges facing the community, and 2 meetings have been held to date. The third and final one, that will involve a large public involvement, is scheduled for March 16th at 6:30 p.m. It will be held on Zoom, which is a first ever for the Rural Development Council. All the others they have done around the state have been in-person affairs where town residents would gather and meet up to exchange ideas face-to-face. But that's not what the times allow these days, so the discussions have taken place online. At the last meeting on February 25th, town residents and those attending the virtual meeting narrowed down a short list of town challenges and opportunities to an even shorter list of 3 things they collectively felt were the most important and most doable ones. They included expand affordable housing. Many residents see a critical need for more affordable, safe, and quality housing for people of all ages and income levels. A second is to develop a community center. A group could form to develop a community center space in Londonderry to serve as a community gathering space, youth center, potential childcare site, and more. A third is to revitalize the village centers. A group could form to work with regional and state experts to develop and implement a plan to revive, beautify, and redevelop the Londonderry village centers. Plans could find a balance for a design that protects the rural character of the community while creating a stronger sense of place, improved aesthetics, and accessibility. At the next meeting on March 16th, community task forces will be formed to build action plans and identify resources to move this work forward. Paul Costello is the Executive Director of the Vermont Council on Rural Development, and Jenna Koloski is the Community and Policy Manager. The pair discussed how the One Londonderry initiative is going so far.
A few things happen at this point. So they've selected those 3 priorities. The next meeting is going to take place on March 16th from 6:30 to 9. And what we'll do is we will come together as a group. We'll do some voting around the vision. On February 25th, folks share different vision points for the future of Londonderry. We'll come to some decisions around that. And then we'll actually very quickly break out into those 3 different topic areas. So residents have been signing up for task forces that would work in each of those areas. We're still collecting signups for that on the One Londonderry website. We'll break up into those 3 topics, and then Paul, myself, maybe another VCRD partner will facilitate conversations with each of those groups that will work to get to a concrete action plan and a list of potential resources to support that work. So the goal is to come out of that meeting with people who've signed up for a task force, who are ready to get to work on these issues for Londonderry, and then also built like what are the first 5 steps that we should take as a group to get to work on this, and then importantly, what are the potential technical assistance and funding supports that are out there for this kind of work. Right now, we are looking at those 3 topics and building what we call a resource team. So we're kind of thinking, if you look at revitalizing the village centers, who are the key leaders or resource providers in Vermont that could sit with this group and not like build their action plan for them, but think with them about like, what are the actions you might take? What have other communities done to get started in this work? And then help think with them about whether there are funding sources out there for this, but also maybe there are ways they themselves can help and support the work in the long term. If you look at something like village centers, and we might bring the Department of Housing and Community Development Village Centers Program coordinator that would sit with them. We might bring in the Wyndham Regional Commission who could work with them in an ongoing way on planning efforts. And same with the other 2 topics, where the people that can really can be a resource in the long run to these groups.
And so you can end up with these big lists of 40 things you ought to do, or 40 things someone would like to do. And if you try to do them all, you're going to fail. It's just, there's not enough capacity. So choosing 2 or 3 things that become fundamental directions the whole community's working on together builds a sense of unity and momentum. It's like a collective spear point of activity, we often say. And when that happens, you start building momentum and resources follow. State and federal grantors can't deal with 40 ideas at once. And even people who are providing technical assistance or nonprofit assistance. When you know where you're going, then you build a different kind of momentum. And so the process is really designed to that. We start with a steering committee that selects just issue areas to explore. And then people come in with every idea that strikes them as important for the future of the community. And we tend to, we are listening really intently. We're taking notes in every session. And we hear the idea of a children's playground in one meeting, and then in another meeting, and we add up the theme that was said in these different places, like the theme of a community center in Londonderry. And it may have 5 or 6 aspects that came out of different ways of looking at it in different rooms. So we kind of tie them together, and we bring what we heard through the whole process as the key ideas that are bouncing around in the community. We bring them back without any sense of us knowing what's right or wrong or what's good for the community. We put them up on the wall virtually in this case, and people then get to champion what's most powerful, what would make the most difference, what would be the most fun and unifying for the whole community. And in Londonderry, they called it One Londonderry. They wanted to think about ways to unite the 2 villages and bring people together across any lines in town to work as a team. And it's fascinating to watch. You go town to town and you do this, and you see collective wisdom in action of people in democracy. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
Sharon Crossman is the chair of the Londonderry Planning Commission and has been closely involved in One Londonderry.
Very happy to see affordable housing in that group of priorities. We've talked about it. It's complicated, and it's not a working group that we have established, although we do talk about it. It hadn't really gotten very far. So I'm pleased that this opportunity will help to shape that and maybe get that off the ground. That would be really good. It's a dire need. And a community center seems like a great idea. I think it could take lots of forms, and that's a group, that's an area, a topic that we hadn't specifically identified, but certainly the way it's now being looked at sounds like it would be a real benefit to the town.
Again, the next meeting of the One Londonderry project will be Tuesday, March 16th, starting at 6:30 p.m. Login information can be found at http://bit.ly/1Londonderry. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.